What, in the cold light of day, has been the reflection on the result on Thursday? A good result?
Probably tell you at the end of the campaign, to be honest. Football's weird because obviously when you get into home games, expecting to win, not expecting to win, but looking to win. But going behind twice, especially being second half and late in the game, it can feel like a bit of a positive getting back into it. So I think there's positives and negatives to take for the game. In terms of how it went, we're probably taking a point in terms of how the scoring went.
You've been involved long enough to probably not try and look too far ahead at the start of campaigns, but often Scotland have got off to a slow start and have been playing catch up. Does it put extra emphasis on getting 3 points in Israel tomorrow?
It probably does a little bit, yeah, to be honest. But it's something that we're confident we can do. We know Israel inside out, and over the last kind of year or so. So we'll be going there to win the game. I think they've obviously lost their first game, so they'll look to do the same. So we'll make for a good game, but we're confident we can go and get 3 points.
The fact that two teams know each other so well, is that a positive or a negative?
I think it's always a positive. I think it was a positive for us in going back to the game in October, and it's good to know your opposition. So I think there'll be no surprises, I don't think, on either side. And we know their strengths and weaknesses, so yeah, look upon it as a positive.
Scott McTominay was talking to us yesterday, and he said that perhaps Scotland need that little bit more arrogance, that belief that we can go out and dominate teams. Is he right in what he says there?
Yeah, possibly. I think just going back to the other night, I think it took us 15-20 minutes to get going in the game, and that can make a difference. The first goal was vital at any level, but especially here. And yeah, obviously Scott plays at a really top club who dominates a lot of games, so I can understand where he's coming from there. So I think the confidence we've built up over the last year and like kind of relative success of qualifying and stuff should give us that bit more belief.
Is that confidence, does that only come from good results? I mean, has that swagger been missing in the past, do you think?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we've not qualified, so obviously it's hard when you're winning games of football. It's easier to be confident, and we've had, as I say, relative success recently, so we should be confident. I think we did get to grips with the game after the first 20 minutes the other night and played well at times, so we'll be confident against Israel, and as I say, it's a game we're looking to win.
How do you go about not needing that 20 minutes to kind of warm up, if you like, because against Israel you probably can't afford that?
No, of course, yeah, it's something that will need to be right for the very start. Away games, I think obviously there's going to be some fans in as well, so the atmosphere will be there, and it's something we'll need to be right on our game for the very start. So that's just a concentration thing. We know we need to start games better. We'll have had a little look at the Austria game, and as I say, we'll look at how Israel start, and we'll try and put a positive frame of mind and positive tactics into that early in the game.
Was there anything specific that you've been working on training? I know you've only had a short time after the game on Wednesday that you've been working on in training specifically. I know the manager talked about kind of defensively, maybe there were one or two areas that you wanted to work on. Yeah,
not to, obviously with a quick turnover it's hard to get lads in the pitch. It's more about recovery. I think we'll do a lot of meetings about Israel kind of in the next 24 hours, so I think obviously we'll do a lot of work in them and look to see if they've changed anything from previous games, obviously for what they did for the Denmark game. So we'll be ready. As I say, if we can get a better start than we did the other night, I'm sure we can go and get the 3 points.
There were some changes in the defensive lineup ahead of you, the likes of Hendry obviously coming in and Hanley too. They actually, once they did kind of settle down, they actually looked really decent. That could be quite a promising, the kind of trio with Kieran Tierney as well. It could be really solid for Scotland, couldn't it?
Yeah, I know Grant very well for previous squads. Obviously it's my first squad with Jack, but he settled in really well, as you say. I think I know he's played before, but he's still quite young and inexperienced at this international scene. So, but they settled well. As I say, I don't think as a team we did well first 20 minutes, but once we get settled, I think there was a confidence there, and the lads looked at home.
Do you think the expectation levels have risen a little bit, obviously after the qualifying, and more's expected of you? And how do you cope with that as a player? Is it something you relish?
Yeah, it's something that the expectation has risen, of course it has, but it's something that we can't control. I think before we qualified, I was always saying that the group of lads coming through here, the young lads, are playing at such a high level, especially down south, that I expected us to be challenging to qualify. now that it's happened, it's great. It's taken us to a new level, and hopefully we can gain that confidence and belief that we were talking about, and go and win against Israel.
I mean, you see some of the fans on kind of social media and what have you, and they're getting quite excited about they see McTominay playing in the middle of the park and the class that he has. We talked about Kieran Tierney. Is that excitement something that you share as well as a player?
Oh, definitely. I think as I say, I've been back in the squad a few years now, and when I seen the young lads coming through, I did feel as if it was going to be an exciting times. And obviously you've got like Andy, who's had an exceptional few years. Kieran's went down south and did really well, and Scott's kicked on this year again, which we fully expected. So yeah, it's something that young lads coming through, or other lads who are not at that level yet, can aspire to. But no, there's a lot of confidence within the squad and a lot of belief in these lads are helping to lift that.
Just finally for me, you talked about no surprises between yourself and Israel, but could that be key? Does maybe Steve Clarke have something up his sleeve that might spring a surprise or two?
Yeah, I hope so. Maybe, yeah. There's strong competition for all the starting places now, so I think any team that's doing well, which we have been, every position's really up for grabs, especially with the summer coming as well. So yeah, there'll be a lot of lads looking to make an impact. Obviously we've brought Shea in for his first campaign. He's settled in really well, so I'm sure everybody will be looking to make a mark tomorrow night.
David, you talk about obviously when you come back later on, come back twice, it feels more positive than it might. Can that be a big thing? You've come back twice, you mentioned you started the game pretty slowly, but you grew into it a lot. Do you feel that there's a confidence now that even if things are going against you in a game that you're never beaten? Is that a really important thing to have as a team?
Yeah, I would say it's a really important thing to have. Obviously the game in November when we conceded late and managed to kind of turn it round, and obviously the other night, it's not something you think about too much, but it is a good habit to get into. But at the same time, I think the first goal at international level is so key. So if we could start the games better and get the first goal, I'm sure we'll win a lot more games. But at the same time, we've got goals in the team, and as I say, we're never done in the game until it's finished.
Is that obviously the memory of the recent trip to Israel is fresh? Is that something that drives you on? Obviously, it was an important game. It was a bit frustrating that night with the chances that went astray. Is it really something that drives you on when you go back there again so soon?
Yeah, the games have been really tight. Obviously, that Israel game coming in November was a chance for us to pop up a group in the Nations League as well. So I think performance-wise, the two games after Serbia were good, but just as I say, first goal massive in each game, and just lost by the odd goal. So performance-wise, we weren't far away. I think we've got everybody fit and firing, and obviously kind of dropping points against Austria. We'll be looking to go and win the game to come back to the Faroe Islands on Wednesday, and hopefully we can get a great start to the group.
Last couple of questions from Scottish media.
Seeing the Six Nations result last night, seeing the success of other Scottish national teams, how much does that spur you guys on as a team? And
yeah,
morale boost as well.
Yeah, we caught that second half last night. Most of the squad, especially the last 5 minutes, was amazing to see. So that passion, you just felt it was going to happen. So there's a feel-good factor about it. Obviously, the lads are at the same training centre for us for the week. We can't mix with the COVID stuff, but last night was you've been enthralled by it. I'm not a massive rugby fan, I must admit, but seeing that last 5 minutes last night was brilliant.
And just from me, do you feel pressure to keep the high standard up?
Of course, yeah. I think it's got us to where we're at in terms of qualifying, but World Cup's another step again. We're looking to go again. Obviously there is slight disappointment from the other night, because we're expecting ourselves to be at a high level now and win our home games. So there's high standards here, and as I say, we'll be looking to go to Israel and win the game.
Just a couple of questions from the Israeli media. David, would you prefer the match in Israel to have been behind closed doors or with 5,000 Israeli fans?
No, I would prefer fans. I think if you asked any footballer, it's good to get fans back. I had a couple of games this season where I had Brentford and Millwall where there was fans back, and just the atmosphere in general was so much better. So looking forward to it.
Finally, how does it feel to meet Israel again? Do you gain more confidence with the fact you know the opponent well?
Yeah, I think so. I think we both know each other inside out, and when the draw, there's a wry smile came across everybody's face, I think, when the draw was made. So I think we've not won in a while as well, so looking forward to the game. As I say, no surprises, and the best team will win on the night.